They laughed when you were quiet. They mocked you when you were kind. Now they're terrified because the one they underestimated just got backed by a force they can't understand, and it's not backing down. Now imagine this for a moment. Chosen one. Someone tried to play you like a pawn, thought you were naive, slow, soft. But turns out you were the storm dressed in silence. You were the chessboard, not the piece. And now they can't sleep. Why? Because the same person they dismissed as harmless is the one their spirit now warns them to never cross again. You didn't threaten them with words. Your existence became the consequence. Let's talk facts. Studies in behavioral psychology show that people don't fear what they see. They fear what they can't control. And, chosen one, you are uncontainable. Your growth didn't ask for permission. Your glow didn't beg for acceptance. Your evolution broke the illusion they lived in. The fear they feel now, that's their subconscious realizing that underestimating you might have been the biggest mistake they ever made. And thank you, chosen one. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing the like and subscribe to help spread this truth to more souls. It's the responsibility of all of us to spread the light, to call out the darkness, and to remind others they're not alone in this war. Thank you, truly, for being part of this mission. You're not just a viewer, you're part of a force. Back to the truth that's rattling the wrong ones right now. You've got people shook. And it's not because you're loud, aggressive, or trying to prove anything. It's because you don't have to. They're afraid of what you've become in silence. The calm, the composure, the unbothered attitude. That scares people who only know how to feel powerful by being seen. And the worst part for them? You weren't bluffing. You didn't need a comeback speech. You became the proof. You became the result. See, they thought your ancestors were just a spiritual idea. They didn't realize that your bloodline carries weight. It carries memory. And that energy, it doesn't forget. It doesn't forgive disrespect lightly. Your aura doesn't just enter a room, it cleans it. It clears the parasites. It filters the fake. People who once stared you down are now looking away. Not because you changed, but because your light made their shadows visible. The ones who gossiped about you now whisper nervously when your name is mentioned. The ones who mocked your journey now study your every move. They thought you were a soft target, but the energy you carry comes with spiritual clearance. Ancestral clearance. You're not just protected, you're reinforced. The very presence around you, even when you're alone, speaks louder than anything they could say. And that's what has them frozen. They don't know how to process someone who keeps evolving after being underestimated. They don't know how to compete with someone who doesn't compete. They can't fight what doesn't flinch. You, chosen one, became the proof that pain can be alchemized into power. You made them feel average just by being yourself. And now they don't know whether to admire you or avoid you. That confusion? That's fear wrapped in envy. People are afraid of what they can't label. You defy their categories. You're too smart to be silenced, too peaceful to provoke, and too grounded to be moved. That balance, that quiet dominance, it's rare, and rare always scares the ordinary. Your ancestors didn't send you to blend in, they sent you to break generational chains, and that mission came with its own security detail, the kind you don't see, but they sure feel. So now they whisper about your energy, how it's too much, or how you've changed. No, you unlocked. You didn't get colder, you got smarter. You didn't stop caring, you just stopped bleeding for those who were cutting you. That's not bitterness, that's alignment. That's what happens when the chosen one steps into their full self and stops apologizing for it. And the wildest part, you didn't even mean to scare them. You were just trying to survive, heal, elevate. But in doing so, you walked into your purpose, and purpose always disturbs what's fake. The people who played with your name are now haunted by the power behind it. Because it's not just your name anymore, it's a signal, a vibration, a warning. They hear it in conversations, they feel it in silence, and their fear, that's confirmation. So when you feel that tension in the air, when people start avoiding eye contact or suddenly going quiet when you enter the space, don't take it personal. Take it as proof you have someone who underestimated you scared right now. And no, your ancestors don't play. They never did. And now, neither do you. And listen closely, chosen one. What you just heard, that was only the warning shot. The full truth, the one that'll make everything click, the one that explains why they're so scared of you now, is just beginning to unfold. So, don't move a muscle. Stay with me as we break this down step by step and expose every layer of fear your enemies are hiding under. Drop the number 777 in the comments if you've ever felt someone silently panic the moment they realized they underestimated you. And if you feel called to support the force behind this message, your super thanks fuels this mission. You don't just donate, you arm the truth. Your presence here isn't just support, it's part of a bigger correction, a spiritual balancing act, and we see you. And now, let's dive into it, one layer at a time. And trust me, if you're truly one of the chosen, something deep in your spirit won't let you look away. You'll feel the pull to stay until the very last word. Let's get into it. Number 1, your energy walks in first, and it clears the room. They didn't hate your presence, they hated that the moment you entered they no longer mattered. You didn't say a word, and suddenly the whole room remembered their lies. That's the thing about being chosen. You don't chase attention, it surrenders to you. You don't ask for respect, it's felt in your silence. The moment you walk into a space, everything shifts. Not because you're loud, not because you're flashy, but because you carry something real, something undeniable, something they tried to bury in themselves a long time ago. And the second your energy brushes against theirs, they remember what authenticity feels like. And it terrifies them. Now imagine this, chosen one. You walk into a room full of people who spent days gossiping about you, doubting you, laughing at the idea that you'd ever rise. But the second you step in, their mouths go dry, their voices shrink. Why? Because your presence brings accountability. You didn't have to confront them, they're already confronting themselves in your reflection. You didn't raise your voice, your energy raised the volume of their guilt. That's not arrogance, that's frequency, that's alignment. Your aura isn't loud, it's louder than loud, it's undeniable. People can ignore words, but they can't ignore vibration. They can dismiss your posts, your pictures, your lifestyle, but the feeling you give off, that's what lives rent-free in their chest. And now they're uncomfortable. Why? Because liars get exposed just by standing next to someone who tells the truth with their life. They feel naked next to you, even when you're fully clothed. That's why the laughter dies when you walk in. That's why the conversation changes. That's why some people suddenly remember they have somewhere else to be. It's not in your head, chosen one. You didn't imagine the tension. That was their mask slipping. They can't stand the light because it reveals too much. People often ask, why do they act weird around me when I've done nothing wrong? But that's the thing, you've done nothing wrong, and that's what makes them squirm. You're not gossiping, you're not competing, you're just existing, and yet your existence alone is disruptive, because the peace you radiate feels like a judgment on their chaos, because the discipline in your posture feels like a mirror reflecting their laziness, because the truth you walk in without effort feels like punishment to people who live in lies. And the more you elevate, the worse it gets, because now they're not just annoyed, they're scared. They're scared because your energy entered a room they thought they owned, and suddenly they realized they were never in control. That's why so many people get aggressive with you out of nowhere. That's why the passive aggression creeps in. Because the lie they told themselves about being the smartest, the most spiritual, the most attractive, the most successful, it collapsed the second you showed up, without a word, without a flex. You are the reminder they didn't ask for, but the one the universe delivered anyway. Don't believe it. Look at history. Look at people like Maya Angelou. She didn't need to be explosive. Her presence carried power. Her words cleared rooms. Or think of someone like Malcolm X. Whether people agreed with him or not, he couldn't walk into a space without every eye turning. Because people feel what can't be faked. Energy precedes intention. And the chosen ones throughout time have all carried that same undeniable weight. Even celebrities in today's world, those who hold that mysterious magnetism, are often misunderstood, shunned, or labeled too intense. But the truth is, they're not too much. The world just isn't used to real power that doesn't come in a costume. You are the same. You're not just here to be liked. You were wired to disturb the fake peace of shallow spaces, and that's exactly what you do every time you walk in. So when they avoid you, pull away, or whisper behind your back, don't ask, "What did I do wrong?" Start asking, "What truth in me did they try to run from?" That's when it clicks. You were never the problem. You were the trigger. You were the truth they couldn't process. And the silence that follows you into the room? That's not awkwardness. That's recognition. It's their soul acknowledging something ancient in you. Your ancestors don't just walk behind you. They walk in with you. That's why doors open. That's why snakes scatter. That's why the room clears. Not because of you alone, but because of the force that walks with you. They can't explain it, and that's why it scares them even more. They thought you were weak because you were humble. They confused stillness with submission, but now they see the truth. You're not quiet because you're small. You're quiet because you're strategic. You don't roar because you don't need to. And every time they try to test you, life makes them regret it before you even react. So, chosen one, stop wondering why certain people shrink when you rise. Stop feeling bad for the discomfort you cause. That discomfort is the universe doing what it always does when something real walks into something fake. It separates. You are the line in the sand. You are the energy shift. And whether they like it or not, they feel you now. You're not trying to be intimidating. You're not even trying to stand out. But when you carry light this strong, it exposes everything pretending to be it. And that's why your energy walks in first. That's why it clears the room. You're not just a person. You're a presence, a reminder, a correction. And the ones who tried to play with you before, they're the ones now gripping their ego tight, trying not to flinch when your name comes up. Because once upon a time, they laughed. And now, they listen. That's what it means to be chosen. You're not loud, but you're felt. You're not trying, but you're shaking systems. And your silence? That's the loudest warning they'll ever hear. Number 2. The ones who mocked you are now watching in silence. They laughed because they thought you were harmless. Now they watch in silence, terrified that the one they underestimated is the same one the universe has chosen to rise, without saying a single word. That's the twisted irony, chosen one. The loudest mouths always go quiet first when the truth finally speaks, and your life is speaking louder than anything they ever mocked. The very people who used your name as a joke are now checking your page like it's prophecy. Their scroll slows when they see your face. Their stomach flips when they hear your voice. They're still watching, but now they watch in silence, because somewhere deep down, they know they were wrong. And here's the part they'll never admit. The fear didn't start when you started to win. It started the moment they realized you never needed to clap back. You didn't defend yourself. You didn't explain. You didn't retaliate. You just kept moving. That quiet, focused energy, that's what scares them, because they live off reactions. They thrive in chaos. But you moved like someone who already knew the ending, and they weren't part of it. Now imagine this, chosen one. They used to mock your silence, saying you were too quiet, too withdrawn, too mysterious. But now, that same silence feels like judgment. That same distance feels like punishment. You didn't have to expose them. Your growth did. You didn't need to prove anything. Your existence became the proof. You've become their reminder that every word they spoke against you aged like regret. Let's be real. People don't obsessively watch what they don't fear. They don't stalk what they don't secretly admire. When someone mocks you loudly and then watches you silently, that's not curiosity, that's conviction. They know they messed up, and the universe won't let them unsee who you've become. Psychologically, this is called cognitive dissonance. It happens when someone's belief system is shattered by undeniable truth. They believed you were weak. They wanted to believe you were beneath them. But your evolution created a fracture in that illusion. And now they're mentally wrestling with the fact that the person they dismissed is now someone they can't stop watching. That's not hate. That's mental punishment wrapped in silence. Think about Michael Jordan. He was cut from his high school basketball team. People laughed. He didn't respond with words. He responded with greatness. They mocked him in the locker room, then watched him dominate arenas in silence. You are no different. You are the quiet storm they never prepared for. And now they scroll your profile like it's a mirror, showing them everything they failed to become. They try to act unaffected, but their silence is the loudest confirmation you could ever ask for. They've run out of jokes. Because now you are the standard. They once giggled at your dreams. Now they study your moves, hoping to copy your glow. And what eats at them most? You never needed them. You never begged for validation. You built without applause. You rose without their permission. You turned every insult into fuel, every eye roll into rocket fuel. And now you're untouchable. Not because you're better, but because you refused to stop while they wasted time watching. They'll never say it out loud, but their actions scream it. I underestimated you, and now I'm obsessed. They refresh your posts. They ask mutuals about you. They act like they're over it, but they can't stop coming back. That's what happens when someone realizes too late that they bet against the wrong soul, that they mocked someone who was marked by the universe. And if you're wondering, but why don't they just say something? Apologize? Admit it? Because pride is louder than guilt. Their ego won't let them speak, but their energy tells the whole truth. Silence is their surrender. Stalking your glow is their confession. Even your absence is heavy. You don't show up to their events, and they still whisper your name. You leave a group chat, and they still bring you up months later. That's what happens when someone realizes they lost access to someone rare, someone real, someone chosen. You were never supposed to be part of their circle. You were supposed to outgrow it. And now that you have, they don't know whether to be jealous or just embarrassed. They thought their silence would hurt you, but now they see your silence exposed them. So, chosen one, don't let their eyes in the dark make you dim your light. If they're still watching, then you're still rising. And if they're quiet now, good. That's the sound of defeat. That's the sound of realization. That's the sound of someone finally understanding that they threw stones at someone who had an army of ancestors walking with them. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need to get back at anyone. The glow-up was always enough. The peace you have now is louder than any insult they ever whispered. You live rent-free in the mind of people who once thought you were a phase. But you're not a phase. You're the future they weren't ready for. So let them watch. Let them sit in silence while your name grows louder in rooms they can't even enter anymore. You're not just being seen now. You're being recognized. And the ones who mocked you, they don't have the courage to look you in the eye anymore, because they know they lost access to something divine, and once the chosen one walks away, they don't return. Their silence isn't peace, it's punishment, and your existence is the sentence. Number 3, you see through people, and that terrifies them. They weren't afraid of what you'd do to them. They were terrified of what you could see in them, and you saw everything they tried to hide. That's the kind of power you carry, chosen one. You don't need receipts. You don't need to dig. You don't need evidence from a third party. Your intuition reads people before they speak. Their energy introduces them long before they shake your hand. And no matter how carefully they paint their image, your spirit can smell the rot underneath the performance. That's why they're scared. That's why they flinch when you look at them too long. Because you don't see their mask, you see their truth. Now think about that. What's more threatening to a liar than someone who doesn't fall for the act? You became the mirror they never asked for, and when they looked into you, they saw every contradiction, every insecurity, every flaw they tried to bury. You didn't embarrass them, their own reflection did. You didn't expose them publicly. The universe let their guilt do that silently. They wanted to manipulate you. They thought they could run the same games on you they ran on everyone else, but you were already 10 moves ahead, reading patterns, picking up on their shifts, decoding their body language. Your silence wasn't confusion, it was observation. You were watching, clocking, learning. And when the moment came, you didn't need to argue. Your absence did all the talking. And now they question everything. How did they know? Why didn't the manipulation work this time? Because you're chosen, because the universe gave you sight, not just vision, but inner knowing. You're not here to be fooled. You're here to break the cycles that fools create. That's why your energy disturbs them. They can't fake it around you. They can't pretend to be pure while standing next to someone who actually is. So let them squirm. Let them shift uncomfortably in your presence. That's not your burden. That's their truth reacting to your light. And don't waste time proving anything. The universe already confirmed what you sensed. The ones you walked away from, they know why. They felt it. And deep down, they know they were seen. You didn't lose them, you released them, so you could finally focus on you and let the universe handle what your discernment already detected. Number 4, you're not playing their game, you're building a new table. They wanted you to compete. Instead, you started creating, and nothing threatens the insecure more than someone who doesn't need their spotlight to shine. That's the silent war you've been fighting, chosen one. You were never built to play their rigged games, the fake popularity contests, the loud performances for clout, the empty alliances just to climb a social ladder to nowhere. While they were busy fighting over plastic crowns, you were out here building kingdoms. You were never interested in sitting at a table built on ego, backstabbing and insecurity. You wanted something real. So, what did you do? You started building your own. They didn't expect that. They thought ignoring you would break you. They thought isolating you would crush your confidence, but it only gave you clarity. While they were chasing trends, you were building a legacy. While they were watching followers, you were watching fruit. You stopped trying to sit at their table because you realized you are the table. And that realization, that's what shattered them. Now they watch from the sidelines, confused. Why won't they compete with me? Why aren't they trying to prove themselves like everyone else? Because you don't need to, because your purpose is louder than their opinions. You're not here to play petty games. You're here to rewrite the rules. And every time you stay silent while they scream for attention, the universe adds another brick to your foundation. That's what they don't understand. You're not loud, but you're lasting. You're not flashy, but you're fortified. And yes, it bothers them. Your existence challenges their entire blueprint. You're the proof that you don't have to sell your soul to be seen, that you don't have to bow down to be blessed. While they're performing, you're becoming. And every step you take in your lane makes them question their own. Not because you said anything, but because your discipline is making their chaos uncomfortable. So keep building. Let them throw stones while you lay bricks. You're not missing out by not playing their game. You're outgrowing it. You're not here to impress them. You're here to inspire the ones watching in silence. And the universe. It's backing every move. Stay locked in. Stay focused. They'll keep talking, and you'll keep creating what they'll never be invited to touch. Number 5. Your vibe is too high for their mask to survive. You didn't unmask them, your frequency did. Because when the vibration is real, anything fake starts to melt off. That's what they're really afraid of, chosen one. Not your words, not your style, not your confidence. It's your vibe, the way your energy walks into the room, like truth dressed in silence. You don't even have to say anything. Your presence alone makes people question their intentions. You bring an atmosphere that demands realness, and anything that isn't aligned starts to fall apart the moment you show up. See, people used to feel comfortable around each other in their delusions. They nodded along with each other's lies. They smiled together in dysfunction. It was a performance, and everyone knew their role. But when you walked in, the script started to burn. Because you didn't laugh at the fake jokes. You didn't pretend like you didn't see what you saw. You didn't play dumb to protect fragile egos. You didn't match their energy. You raised the frequency, and in that shift, the masks started to slip. Now they avoid you, not because you did anything to them, but because their mask can't survive your vibration. It peels off in your light, that polished good person act. It crumbles next to someone who's genuinely walking in alignment. That spiritual front? It looks performative next to someone who's been through the fire and carries peace without needing to brag. You are their energetic audit, and they're terrified of being seen for what they really are. You ever notice how someone who once couldn't stop talking around you now goes quiet when you enter, or how certain people suddenly stop inviting you once your glow started getting too bright? That's not paranoia. That's vibrational truth. Your spirit is disrupting their performance. You're proof that it's possible to live without faking it. And people still caught in the illusion can't stand the reminder. Even spiritual law supports it. Anything not built on truth will eventually collapse in the presence of light. That's what your energy does. It doesn't attack, it exposes, without trying, without effort, just by existing. So don't lower your frequency to make others comfortable. Don't shrink to fit into rooms you were sent to disrupt. You're not here to play along. You're here to break the illusion. Keep vibrating higher. The universe moves with you. And the more their masks fall, the more your power will rise. Number 6. They thought you'd need them, now they need to watch you. They thought they were above you until the universe lifted you so high they couldn't even reach the bottom of your shadow. Now they sit in silence, watching the one they once called nothing become everything. That's the silent shift they weren't prepared for, chosen one. At first, they looked down on you, quietly or boldly, doesn't matter. They thought you were beneath them, that you'd always need them, that you'd be stuck, asking for support, validation, crumbs of attention. But the universe had other plans. While they were laughing, the universe was positioning, and now they're watching every move you make like it's their survival guide, because somehow the person they counted out became the one they can't stop counting on to see what winning looks like. It's almost funny, isn't it? They were so comfortable when they believed you'd stay in your place. When you were still figuring yourself out, still healing, still walking through the fire, they felt superior. But they didn't realize something crucial. Pain doesn't weaken the chosen, it activates them. While they were mocking your struggles, those very struggles were turning you into a weapon of light, into someone who doesn't just recover, but rises. Now they refresh your page in silence. They pretend not to care while studying your every word. They act indifferent in public, but in private, they're analyzing your steps, trying to figure out how you're doing it. How are they rising like this? How did they get ahead of me without my help? Simple. Because the universe is helping you. Your protection doesn't come from people, it comes from purpose, and that scares them more than anything, because they can't control that, they can't stop that, they can't even compete with that. They never imagined you'd have the audacity to grow without them, but you did. You left the table they were so proud to sit at and built one out of everything they used to break you, and now they're starving, watching from the sidelines while you feast on alignment, on purpose, on peace. And let's be real, nothing hurts someone's ego more than realizing the one they dismissed doesn't need them at all. This is your reminder. You never needed their approval. You needed their rejection. That dismissal was divine direction. The betrayal, it was a redirection. And now their silence is filled with confusion, guilt, and regret. Wrapped in fake smiles and forced small talk. So keep shining, chosen one. Keep elevating. Let them watch. That's their new role now. Observers of the very greatness they once tried to bury. They thought they were the ceiling. Turns out they were just the floor. You had to walk over to reach the sky. Number 7. You carry an aura they can't compete with. They couldn't match your light, so they convinced themselves it was too bright. Because when someone's aura outshines the entire room, the insecure won't rise. They'll try to pull the curtains. That's what you're experiencing, chosen one. You don't just walk in with looks or brains or charm. You walk in with presence, with a frequency that doesn't need to prove anything, and that's where the fear begins. You're not performing. You're not asking to be seen. You simply exist in your truth. And that alone unsettles those who only feel powerful when others feel small. You're not loud, but you're unforgettable. And that terrifies people who've spent their lives hiding behind noise. Your intelligence, it doesn't come from books alone. It comes from lived experience, from trauma you survived, from betrayal that refined you. From silence you sat in for years while others underestimated your mind. Your beauty. It's not just surface. It radiates from alignment, from the peace you fought for, from the self-respect they still haven't found. And your peace, that's what shakes them the most. Because when everything around you is chaotic, you're still grounded. That inner calm makes their insecurity scream. Now, instead of working on themselves, they try to bring you down. They'll make comments like, "You're too much," or "You think you're better." No, you don't. You think clearly. You live differently. You vibrate higher. That's what they're trying to dim. Not your arrogance, but your authenticity. Because in your presence, the illusion of their confidence starts to crack. People don't compete with what they admire. They compete with what threatens their illusion of superiority. And you, chosen one, have shattered that illusion without trying. You became the quiet example of what alignment looks like, what healing feels like, what freedom does to a soul. And now their spirit knows they can't fake that level of glow. Let them talk, let them throw shade. That's what happens when your light becomes too loud for people used to dim rooms. You weren't made to be accessible, you were made to be unmistakable, and the universe made sure of it. Keep walking in that power, because no matter how hard they try to bring you down, they'll never reach the standard you naturally set just by being exactly who you are. Number 8. Your coldness isn't cruel, it's calculated. They called you cold only after they realized you wouldn't warm their ego anymore. But the truth is, the wall they complain about is one they helped you build, brick by betrayal. That's what cuts them, chosen one. You didn't turn cold out of nowhere. You didn't become distant for no reason. You responded to what their actions taught you. They used your kindness like a doormat, your silence like a weakness, your generosity like an invitation to drain you, and now that you've created boundaries, they call you cold, arrogant, heartless. But here's the reality. You didn't become cold. You became wise. You were once the warmest one in the room. The one who gave chances, listened without judgment, helped without being asked. But they mistook your softness for stupidity. They took, and when you stopped handing yourself over on a silver platter, they painted you as the villain. Isn't it funny how people never talk about what they did to earn your distance? They weren't complaining when you were always available, when you were over-explaining your worth, when you were ignoring red flags just to keep the peace. But the moment you stopped bleeding for people who were cutting you, that's when they got offended. That's when the accusations started, because your boundaries interrupted their comfort. Now you walk with detachment. You protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is, and it confuses them. Why are they acting different? Because you woke up. You realized not everyone deserves access to you. You understood that giving your warmth to those who refuse to warm themselves is a waste of divine energy, and since they can't reach you emotionally anymore, they try to shame you into returning to who you used to be, the version of you that allowed them to stay unhealed. But here's the truth. This version of you isn't cold. It's calibrated. You're focused. You're intentional. You're aligned. And your detachment isn't cruelty. It's self-respect. The universe pulled you out of their chaos so you could hear your own soul again. That's what they're really mad about. That you chose you. That you closed the door without slamming it. That you didn't fight or explain or beg. You just left them standing there, and at silence haunts them. Let them talk. Let them mislabel your healing. You know the truth. Your ancestors know the truth. And the universe knows the truth. It pulled you away for a reason. Keep your distance. Keep your wall. It's not cold. It's sacred ground now. Not everyone deserves to enter. Number 9. People pleasers hate you because you don't perform. They bend, twist, and fold themselves to be accepted. You stand still and get respected, and that's why they can't stand you. You don't perform, chosen one. You don't shrink to fit anyone's expectations. You don't clap when you're not impressed, and you don't smile when you sense something's off. You've freed yourself from the exhausting performance that most people call fitting in. And that's exactly why people-pleasers resent you. You walk in with authenticity while they spend their whole lives shape-shifting for scraps of approval. They live off validation, off applause, off pretending. They practice their personalities like rehearsing lines in a play, always adjusting based on who's watching. But you don't play those games. You say no when you mean it. You speak when it matters. And most dangerous of all, you're comfortable being unliked. That right there is what unhinges them, because they've built their entire self-worth on being accepted. You, on the other hand, built yours on truth. And truth makes people-pleasers uncomfortable. You remind them that there's another way to live, one where you don't need permission to be yourself, one where you're not addicted to being liked, one where your identity isn't built on being agreeable. They don't hate your attitude, they hate your freedom. Why can't they just be nicer? Why don't they ever try to win people over? Because you were never sent here to win people over. You were sent here to be real. And when you walk in that energy, it offends those who've made a lifestyle out of pretending. People-pleasers don't understand how you can say less and still be remembered, how you can disagree without apologizing, how you can exist in a room and not care if people approve. To them, that's rebellion. To you, that's peace. They need constant reassurance. You walk with quiet certainty. They need attention. You need alignment. And because they can't figure out how you're so secure without the external praise they chase daily, they'll try to flip the narrative, call you rude, call you difficult, call you too much. But what they're really saying is, I can't manipulate them the way I manipulate others. Let them be uncomfortable. You're not here to be agreeable. You're here to be authentic. You were never meant to be another puppet on their stage. You were meant to be the reason they finally realize the show isn't worth watching anymore. Keep showing up as you. The universe backs that kind of courage every time. Number 10. You're a living paradox, and they can't label you. You're the glitch in their matrix, the one soul they can't categorize, decode, or dismiss. And because they can't label you, they try to limit you. That's the threat you carry, chosen one. You're not confusing, you're just uncaged. You don't walk, talk, dress, think, or move the way they expect someone like you to. You're the calm storm, the quiet power, the rebel with no banner. You're soft-spoken but sharp. Humble but untouchable. One minute you're invisible, the next you've taken over the whole atmosphere, and that kind of unpredictability unnerves them. Because people fear what they can't understand, and they hate what they can't control. They want to put you in a box, spiritual or secular, masculine or feminine, friendly or cold, introverted or social, but you're all of it and none of it. You contain contradictions that make sense only to those on your frequency. And since most people operate on surface level, your depth feels like a threat. They want a file they can name. You gave them a riddle they can't solve. Ever notice how people try to study you like a project? One minute they admire your kindness, the next they question your silence. One moment they say you're inspiring, the next they label you intimidating. They keep flipping between opinions because you don't behave according to their expectations, and their fragile minds are used to predictable patterns. You broke their algorithm. That's why their compliments come with shade. That's why their praise feels like an interrogation. How can someone like you exist? Because you're chosen, and the chosen don't play by the rules of those still trapped in survival. You were designed to confuse systems that tried to erase uniqueness. You weren't built to be understood by the masses. You were built to awaken those who are ready to see beyond the illusion. Even history proves this. Visionaries, geniuses, and trailblazers were always seen as contradictions. Nikola Tesla, Prince, Maya Angelou, none of them fit into clean categories. They were misunderstood first, worshipped later. And you? You're walking that same road. Don't let their confusion become your cage. You don't have to explain yourself. You are the explanation. You are the living proof that boxes are for the insecure, not for the divinely designed. Let them be confused. Let them whisper. Just remember, the universe intentionally made you too complex to be copied and too rare to be cloned. Keep moving. Keep breaking the mold. You were never meant to be understood. You were meant to be felt. Number 11. They dream about you because they can't escape your energy. They can't stop dreaming about you because some truths echo louder in silence, and your energy speaks even when you're not around. You haunt them, chosen one, not because you did anything extreme, but because your presence left a fingerprint on their spirit, a vibration they can't scrub off. Even in their sleep, your name carries weight. Your energy doesn't ask for permission. It lingers. It visits them when they're most vulnerable, when their ego is off, when the masks drop. That's when the universe whispers, "You messed with the wrong one." Imagine that. Someone cursed your name by day and then saw you in their dreams by night, not smiling, not angry, just present. And that presence, it's not just a coincidence, it's confirmation. The energy they tried to mock is the same energy now interrupting their rest. Because you don't walk alone, you never did. Whether they believe in karma, spirit teams, or nothing at all, their spirit knows what their ego refuses to admit. You're not just protected, you're divinely backed. They thought smearing your name would come without a cost, but the universe doesn't operate on gossip. It operates on energy. And yours? It's sacred, it's guarded, it's untouchable. That's why they wake up uneasy. That's why their dreams feel heavy, confusing, distorted. Some of them have dreamt of you standing above them, or watching silently, or surrounded by light. Others have felt warned in their sleep. It wasn't paranoia, it was spiritual consequence. That's how powerful you've become. Your peace is haunting, your silence is punishment, your elevation is prophecy fulfilled. They never thought someone like you would rise without their help. Now they're watching, even in their unconscious state, as the universe reminds them what they tried to destroy is not only still standing, it's ascending. And don't think for a second that these dreams are just random. The most stubborn hearts often get messages when they're most defenseless. So when they dreamed of you, it wasn't about you, it was about what they did to you. It was their guilt putting on a play. It was your aura, pure and unbothered, confronting their shadow. Let them keep dreaming, chosen one. That's the only access they'll get now. Their spiritual connection is now limited to glimpses, and even those feel like warnings, not warmth. You've been removed for a reason. The ancestors, the universe, the forces that walk with you, they've sealed your presence. You don't chase revenge because your existence is the reminder, the lesson, the echo that keeps returning long after you've walked away. That's the power of being chosen. You don't just live in people's memories, you live in their corrections. So stay focused, stay aligned. While they dream about you, you're building, you're rising, you're aligning with everything meant for you. And the dreams? That's just the universe reminding them they lost access to what they'll never replace. Number 12. Your ancestors are not playing. They warned them already. They thought they were fighting you. What they didn't know is they picked a fight with every soul that ever protected your bloodline. And your ancestors, they don't play fair. They play for keeps. This was never just about you, Chosen One. The reason their attacks didn't work, the reason their manipulation backfired, the reason they're suddenly paranoid and restless is because they were never just dealing with a person. They were dealing with a lineage, a sacred assignment, a spiritual force that runs through your veins like electricity. When they came for you, they triggered generational defense. They touched something that's ancient, something the universe protects like sacred ground. See, you were born into a war that existed long before you took your first breath. But instead of running from it, you were chosen to end it. And your ancestors, those who walked before you, who suffered, fought, prayed, bled, and rose, they made a pact with the universe. They said, the next one that carries our name will not be touched like we were. They will be covered, and anyone who tries to interfere with their mission will be dealt with. That's you. That's who you are. So when people talk about you, slander you, throw shade, or try to block your blessings, they're not just offending you, they're violating a divine contract. And your ancestors don't need to scream. They show up in dreams, in delays, in sudden misfortune that hits the ones who moved against you without warning. That illness, that chaos, that heavy feeling they can't explain, that's not karma, that's protection enforcement. Because spiritual laws respond to energetic violations, and what they did to you triggered a spiritual response. You've been through moments where you felt something was watching over you, times you almost fell but didn't, times you felt a warning before someone betrayed you, times the energy in the room shifted the moment you walked in. That wasn't paranoia, that was your lineage speaking. You were born with surveillance, with backup, with unseen forces standing shoulder to shoulder with you at all times. That's why you were never truly alone. And the ones who underestimated you, who mocked your silence, betrayed your heart, gossiped in circles thinking nothing would happen, they got warned, spiritually, repeatedly, but pride made them ignore the signals, and now they're facing the correction. You didn't have to lift a finger. Your ancestors handled it before you even knew what was coming. They thought your strength came from the surface, from your personality, from your resources. What they didn't realize was that your real strength comes from the foundation you stand on. Generations of wisdom, resilience, and spiritual fire that lives inside your DNA. That's why you're unfazed. That's why you bounce back stronger. That's why their attacks feel like light taps against a steel wall. You weren't made for defeat. You were built to endure what would break most people and still rise. So don't be surprised if the ones who once moved against you start falling back. Don't be shocked when you hear of strange things happening in their lives. It's not revenge, it's spiritual regulation. Your ancestors gave them chances to make it right. When they chose to keep playing, the warning turned into correction. And when you're chosen, the correction doesn't need your involvement. It happens for you. This is your confirmation. Your mission is guarded. You're not just protected, you're defended. And those who underestimated you now realize they were never fighting alone. They were up against generations of unbreakable force. And now they know your ancestors don't play. Not when it comes to you, not when it comes to purpose, not when someone tries to tamper with destiny. And that, chosen one, is why the fear surrounding your name isn't random. It's earned, it's spiritual, it's generational. You're not just walking with power, you are the power. And those who tried to touch it, they're learning the hard way that your protection doesn't blink. If this resonated with your soul, don't just sit with it, stand in it. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and drop the number 77 in the comments to let the universe know you recognize your calling. And if you feel led to bless the mission, share this message with another chosen one. We rise together, always.